Hi everyone, my name is Chaitni. I am a mindset and nutrition coach. I work with clients who experience stress or anxiety, and I help them cope with these emotions by working with them to develop healthy habits, make lifestyle changes, and incorporate proper nutrition. Every week, I come up with a wellness related video. So if wellness is something that you're interested in and you want to keep on learning about it, then make sure to keep in touch by subscribing to my channel. So in this week's video, I'll be covering EFT or tapping. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It is also known as tapping. And I'll be covering just a brief definition of what EFT is, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. So there are 5 steps that fall under EFT, and I'll be covering every single step. You don't need to take notes. You don't need to try and memorize everything I say, because I will be including a link in the description of this video that will take you to the different sequences that you will need to cover while doing EFT. Now, EFT or tapping is a great tool if you're experiencing, any kind of negative emotion, or if you're experiencing any kind of physical pain. If there's stress, if there's anxiety, if there's fear, anger, any of that. For in the moment, a good solution is tapping. And tapping includes, pressing some of the acupressure points. So it uses, Chinese methodology and Chinese knowledge with the acupressure points. And it also works with psychologically what's going on in your mind and your heart. So it combines the two, the psychology as well as Chinese acupuncture, to help you calm down. Your brain starts to send a signal to your nervous system that says everything's going to be okay, calm down, come back to the present. And that's how it helps you manage the pain or whatever thought it is that you feel is taking over your situation completely. Now, this is not a replacement for seeking medical help or seeking the help of mental health professionals. That is definitely an important resource that you need to turn to if whatever you're experiencing is not manageable on your own. So tapping is in addition to whatever help you're getting from these people. This is not a replacement, but it's really, think of it as in conjunction with the other help that you're getting from medical professionals or mental health professionals. And tapping is very easy to do once you get the hang of it, and it can be self-administered, which means you can do it on your own body, and you can do it anywhere you're comfortable. So you could do it from the comfort of your own home. You could do it in your car while you're waiting in traffic or waiting to pick up your child from school. You could even do it at work. Take a quick 5-minute break, step aside, and you can do some tapping. So it's very easy to administer. It's something that you can do on your own without the assistance of anybody. However, if you do want to work with an EFT practitioner, you most certainly can. They will assist you one-on-one. Again, you're the one who's doing tapping on your body, and they're the ones who are walking you through it. So basically, in a nutshell, think of tapping as, connecting with your physical body to connect with what's going on psychologically. And with that, let me get into the details of tapping and the different sequences that can help you get started with tapping. So the first step in tapping is identifying the issue at hand. So whatever it is in the moment that's causing you stress or discomfort is what you want to focus on. Get really specific and identify the issue. It could be experiencing anger, it could be experiencing hurt, it could be being really nervous about an upcoming presentation. It could be actual physical pain. Maybe you lifted something incorrectly and your lower back really hurts, or it could be a headache, whatever it is. It could be a myriad of things, but make sure you get really specific and only pick one thing. Identify the issue at hand. So for example, it could be, even a fear that you're trying to get over. So as an example, it could be that, I wish I could learn to drive my car. I wish I wasn't so afraid to drive my car on the road. So that is, again, something very specific, and you've identified what it is that's making you uncomfortable or it's causing you mental or physical pain in the moment. And then step number 2 is identifying the intensity of that pain. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being everything is great, everything is hunky-dory, 10 being it is unbearable and you really don't know how to move forward. You need to figure out where you fall on the scale of intensity. So if we're going to go back to that example of being fearful of driving the car, you need to identify how great is that fear? How paralyzing is it for you? Is it a 7 or is it a 5 or, whatever number it is that you pick? Or if you're experiencing physical pain and you have a severe headache, okay, is that headache a 10 or is that headache, more of a 4? Try to pick one number and stick with it. Try not to confuse between a 4 and a 5 or a 7 or an 8. Just pick one number and go with it. And then step number 3, this is where it gets really fun, is when you come up with your setup statement. So the way a setup statement works is it's a 2-part statement. The first half of it is talking about the issue at hand. So that issue that you identified in step 1, that's what you're going to mention in step 3. So that is the first half of your statement. The second half of your statement is embracing where you are now. So really just accepting yourself for who you are. And typically the way these statements work is, I'm going to just share an example with you. Even though I have a severe headache and I'm in a lot of pain, I fully and completely accept myself. So that last sentence the second half of that sentence typically ends with, I accept myself. You can add, other adjectives to it. You can say, I completely accept myself. I fully accept myself. I deeply accept myself. I unconditionally accept myself. Or you can just say, I accept myself. But that is always the second half. And then the first half is identifying the issue. So it's, an easy way to remember is if you just start with even though. So even though I'm afraid of the upcoming presentation and I'm nervous, I fully accept myself. Even though I am upset with my family, or even though I am feeling angry in the moment, I fully accept myself. So these are just some different examples of how you can come up with your setup phrase. Now, whatever your setup phrase, that is the phrase that you are going to repeat a few times when you first start tapping. So the first point of tapping is always at the bottom of your hand. It's that fleshy part right here, close to your pinky. Doesn't matter which hand you use. I'm right-handed. That is why I'm tapping with my right hand, but up to you. So as you start tapping, but on the computer way too much. So as you start tapping, that is when you say your setup statement a few times, at least 2 to 3 times. So it could be, even though I'm in a lot of pain and my neck hurts, I fully accept myself. Even though I'm in a lot of pain and my neck hurts, I fully accept myself. So say that 2 or 3 times. From there, we start the whole sequence of tapping. But before we start that sequence, so that is step number 4, before we start that, you have to come up with a reminder phrase. So whatever your setup statement is, a condensed version of that is your reminder phrase. Or think of it this way, with the setup statement, you had 2 parts to it, right? The first half is the issue, the second half is you accepting yourself. So the first half, whatever that issue is, that is what you're using as a reminder phrase. So if the first half of my statement is, even though my neck hurts and I'm in a lot of pain, that's the part I'm going to focus on. So my reminder phrase would be the pain in my neck. Or if you're nervous about your upcoming presentation, it could be nervous about my presentation, or fear of driving my car, or the severe headache, right? That is what you're focusing on. It's really the issue. So come up with that short phrase, that reminder phrase, because every time you tap after the first time, regardless of where you're tapping, you need to say that reminder phrase a few times as you're tapping. So every point that you tap on, you're going to use that reminder phrase. All right. So that is step number 4. It's a whole sequence. I don't remember that sequence off the top of my head, so I will refer to the image I have on my screen. So while I do that and pull that up, I hope you come up with your setup statement as well as your reminder phrase. So the first area is right here at the bottom of your hand, and you say the entire setup statement. And then this is followed by your eyebrow. So it's really the inside of it. So right here, you can use 2 hands if you want to, or you use 1. So you tap a few times here, maybe 7 to 10 times, and you say your reminder phrase. You can say it out loud, you can say it on the inside, it's up to you. So this is area 2. Area 3 is the side of your eye. All right? So not too close to your eye, but the side of it. And then area number 3 is under the eye. So you can tap there with both hands. You usually want to use the first 2 or the first 3 fingers for lightly tapping. Make sure you're not poking yourself in the eye, you're just lightly tapping. And then from here, we move on to under nose. So this is where you're going to tap. This is where you're going to say your reminder phrase as well. And then from there, we go to under chin. Again, same process. You tap and you say your reminder phrase. From under the chin, we move on to your collarbone. So it's right here. And you tap there a few times. And then after your collarbone, we get to the end of it, which is right here. If you look, it might be a little bit hard to see with this. But it's called the underarm area, but it's not directly under your underarms. It's a little bit below your chest. That is where you're tapping. So these are the 9 points. It starts here, and then you have, the top of your head that you're tapping. You have your eyebrow, the side, under eye, have the area here, collarbones, and then underarm. So this is the order that you need to go in. As I said, you tap about 7 to 10 times, and you always remember to say your reminder phrase. So that is step number 4. And then the last step number 5 is, it's similar to step number 2. It's actually the exact same thing, is you reevaluate the issue at hand. How are you feeling? Where is that intensity level? So initially, you gave it a number between 1 and 10. What is that number now? If that number hasn't gone down, or it hasn't gone down enough, then you need to repeat step 4, which was the whole sequence of tapping. And you keep on doing that until you can drop that number of intensity, hopefully to a 0 or to a 1, or at least to a point where you can manage whatever you're experiencing. And that is pretty much the 5-step process to tapping. So number 1 is you get specific and you identify the issue. Number 2 is you figure out the intensity level. Number 3 is you come up with your setup statement and you make sure to tap the bottom of your hand. And then number 4 is you actually start the tapping process. And number 5 is, again, you gauge the intensity of the issue. If it's not resolved to a level that you're comfortable with, then you need to go back to the tapping and do it again. So this is really simple. It's really straightforward. It's not time consuming at all. It's a great addition to whatever other help you're getting, whether it's physical therapy or it's going to see a counselor or a therapist, or even, being on any kind of medication for your mental health. This is a great addition to all of that. Think of it as another tool in your self-care toolbox. It's something that's available to you 24/7, and it is in your back pocket at all times. So it doesn't matter where you are, it's something that you can do for yourself. One thing with tapping, just like everything else, if you just do it on and off, you may not see the results that you want to see. So consistency matters. If you're going through a really rough patch and you're experiencing some kind of emotional turmoil, maybe this is something that you do at least once a day for a few weeks. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one, if you're going through a divorce, a breakup, you're having some difficulties at work, any kind of stressors in your life, if you're having some health ailments, even with all of that, EFT can help. Tapping has been scientifically proven to assist with trauma, to assist with anxiety, with stress, any kind of PTSD. But it has to be done correctly and it has to be done consistently. So that pretty much wraps up this week's video. I hope you discovered something new, or if you were familiar with tapping, I hope you got a good reminder that this is something else that you can turn to in the repertoire of self-care tools that you already have. If you want to learn more about what I do and how I help my clients, you can always check out my website. It's www.imperfectbodies.com. In the meanwhile, I hope you take really good care of yourself, and I will catch you here next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And do remember that I have dropped a link of the entire tapping sequence and the image in the description of this video. So make sure to click on that and you will get all the details and the step-by-step process that you need. Thank you and take care.